Hey everybody. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is now out. Follow-up to Into the Spider-Verse. So I just figured I'd make a quick video going over my thoughts about it. And if you guys agree, that's cool. If not, whatever. Um, but I really like how the film continues the story. It doesn't just do the same thing as so many sequels do, especially Marvel. Um, it actually tells a new story, and I like that. I also really like the visual style. Um, I especially like the way they designed Gwen Stacy's universe because it's very colorful. It's very expressive. It looks like a painting kind of, which is very pretty. And I love how everything has a different look. And I'm not totally sold on the story yet because I don't love the kind of multiverse aspect of these movies so much because I think it kind of puts them in a bind where they have to connect too much to the broader Marvel canon. You know, in this film there's references to the Venom movies, the live action Venom movies, the MCU, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It doesn't need that in my opinion. It should it should be comfortable standing on its own because on its own merits it is good. I don't know why it needs to connect to these other films that take place in the kind of Spider-Man universe. Um, but that being said, I really like kind of the message and the way it uses Miles as a character as being this anomaly of all of the Spider-Men, and that's why he's able to, not to give too much away, but it's why he's able to triumph in the film is because he doesn't think the same way, and he even has that line like, "No, I'm gonna do my own thing," which is on one hand so simple, but it's also like a very it ties in with the rest of the film so well, and a lot has been said about the film's runtime. It doesn't really feel its length. It's about 2.5 hours. Doesn't feel it. Feels a lot shorter, which is it blasts through the plot. Um, and a lot has been also said about the ending, which I don't think it's a spoiler at this point. People know that there is a third installment on the schedule for next year. I don't think it's a spoiler at this point to say this film doesn't have like a solid ending. It's a bit of a cliffhanger. Um, but and I'm not a huge fan of that because I do prefer when movies have beginning, middle, end. You know, kind of the filmmakers. I read an interview where they compared it to The Empire Strikes Back, but I think the difference there is that I think The Empire Strikes Back actually had a much more solid ending than this in terms of it actually completed the story and merely was setting up the next film with this cliffhanger. It wasn't half of a movie. This feels like half of a movie. Um, Feels like a very good half of a movie, even though I have some problems with it, but it does feel like half of something that will be completed. So it's hard to judge it kind of on its own, but I'll say it succeeds both as entertainment and as a work of art, in my opinion, more than it fails. I think the references to the other Spider-Man live action stuff is kind of superfluous. I don't really see the point. It gets people to go, "Oh, I recognize that thing in theaters," but if these films are to have a lasting artistic impact, that will not be what is mentioned when people praise them. So I think it's just it dates the film too much to the current kind of market and the current films surrounding it that are coming out. But yeah, just to recap my review, I think artistically it's beautiful. It's maybe even better than the first one in that there is a greater variety of locations and universes and visual kind of spectacle. In that sense, it's even better. I think story wise, I prefer the first film. I think it has more of its own. It's not as tied in with the rest of a lot of the other Marvel projects. But that being said, this is still a really good movie. Yeah, so just ultimately, it's really entertaining. It's really artistically fulfilling, but I have problems with A, how it ties itself too much to the rest of the Marvel universe, including the live action films, and I have a problem with how it's basically split at the end, and it's basically just the first half of a two-part film. I would prefer it to stand on its own more, and I would prefer it to have a more solid ending. So I do have some criticisms of the film, but I think it was overall a really good movie. And I am looking forward to the final chapter. This was also very good to hear that the next one is the last one, because they could easily run this franchise into the grave and have it end up not being good, kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is bad. But no, at least Lord and Miller said that the next one will be the last one of the trilogy and will be an end to the story, which is really promising. I'm happy to hear that, and I'm excited to see it. Supposedly it comes out next year, but apparently I've heard there's some production delays, so we'll see if that actually happens. But it'll come out at some point, and I'll see how much I enjoy it. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being subscribed to Deep Focus, and see you guys soon.